What many of us had penned to be a disastrous UFC end for Nate Diaz ultimately turned out to be a bit of a fairy tale exit on Saturday after Diaz submits Tony Ferguson in the fourth round of the UFC 279 headliner. Not the fight we were sold on originally, not the fight we expected, but ultimately the fight we got after Khamzat Chimaev badly missed weight for this main event, and ultimately the UFC forced to reshuffle this entire fight card, leaving us with the new headliner of Diaz versus Ferguson. This was definitely a better matchup for Diaz going in. He had some struggles in there, but ultimately he prevailed, took advantage of a foolish takedown attempt from Ferguson, locks in the guillotine choke, and gets the job done. And now his UFC contract is complete. We've been talking about this story for the majority of this year, waiting to see what happens with Diaz as he had his final fight on his contract and ultimately decided to move on from the promotion. It seems pretty clear what his intentions are at this point. He wants to do some boxing, some other sorts of martial arts competitions outside of the UFC, and then potentially he comes back at some point in the future and settles some unfinished business with the likes of Conor McGregor and others out there. But right now, I think the writing is on the wall for what's next for Diaz, and he is looking closely at that Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva boxing match coming up on October 29th. I think we've all known that the Diaz UFC exit would lead to a boxing match with Jake Paul. I think that happens win or lose against Anderson Silva, unless Paul gets completely humiliated in that fight and just shown he's not even capable of being there with anyone on this sort of level. I think the Diaz fight ends up happening. He gets that huge payday. There would be so much intrigue, so much drama attached to that boxing match. However you may feel about it, for better or worse, it seems like it is coming our way now. Diaz has a clear runway now that he's done his UFC contractual obligations, and I think we get that fight in the not too distant future. So this result for Diaz, pretty much a perfect case scenario. If he had gone out there and get smashed by Khamzat Chimaev, we are having a completely different kind of conversation right now in terms of how he looks coming out of this event. But right now, this was everything he could have asked for and more. He gets a fight against a fellow legend in Ferguson. He gets the win after a back and forth battle, a performance of the night bonus, and now he moves on to potentially greener pastures outside the UFC. Congratulations, Nate Diaz. What a run it's been inside the octagon, regardless if he comes back or not, one of the legends of the sport, and I think we will all be very fascinated to see what cage or ring he steps into next.